Now, I think it's pretty safe to say that the future of the Star Wars franchise seems to be quite expansive, not just with their books, novels, comics, and video games, but also, let's not forget about their new Star Wars TV shows and their new Star Wars trilogy and spin-off films in the works by Disney, Lucasfilm, Bob Iger, Bob Chapek, and more. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel for future Star Wars content. Now, one thing about Disney Star Wars is that we do know that they are really trying to crawl out of this phase of desperation and damage control, that they're really trying to build Star Wars from the ground up. Again, that's the big plan by Iger and Chapek, is that they really want to make Star Wars as successful as the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And like I've said before in the past, that is going to take a lot of time and effort and a high success rate to get it to such a level. Now, obviously, The Mandalorian Season 2, Episode 1 has been doing amazingly well. You know, the very ending really got a lot of fans very excited. I know a lot of you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. And it just opens the gateway of possibilities of what's to come in the next batch of episodes. Now, with that being said, of course, we do know that George Lucas, Dave Filoni, and Jon Favreau are all working together as a team to really bring Star Wars back to the way it used to be, to really bring back the passion of Star Wars, right? And that's exactly what fans want to see either on the big screen or at home on their television, is that they want to see a version of Star Wars that is done by passionate creators that are actually fans at the very end of the day. And that's exactly what Jon Favreau is, that's exactly what Dave Filoni is, let alone George Lucas, the creator of all things Star Wars, which is exactly what we are talking about today, and how it has all to do with the concept of Rey Skywalker and the major regulations that are being put into place for that specific character. Now, specifically, of course, with the Skywalker saga now over, both Disney and Lucasfilm are finished with the sequel trilogy and moving on to their new Star Wars universe. It's explained that Bob Iger and Bob Chapek are developing multiple plans in order to reunite the Star Wars fans around the world, to create a better future for the franchise. Now, additionally, it's explained, however, that creator George Lucas is making drastic changes to the rise of Skywalker by developing major retcons for the story. It's noted that George Lucas has been developing new plans to end the concept of Rey Skywalker that was established in the final cut of Episode 9. It's described that Lucas recently put an end to the Rey Skywalker concept that was developed by Kathleen Kennedy that will be introduced to the canon sometime in late 2021 next year. The new canon for Rey Skywalker by George Lucas that is being established is set to involve the essence of Ben Solo's life force traveling into Rey's body and becoming a part of her in the process. Let me stop right here for a second. Now, this is a very interesting take on how George Lucas plans to make Rey a legitimate Skywalker. Some of you guys out there may very well not like this idea, and George is very well aware about this apparently. Now, obviously a lot of fans, including myself, were not all that impressed by Rey calling herself Rey Skywalker at the very end of the film, just because. You know, I think a lot of fans were really mixed on that. Some fans actually liked that idea. Other fans really despised the idea. I mean, I remember sitting in the theater, I don't know about you guys, but I was sitting in the theater, and when she said Rey Skywalker, it was very silent. I didn't really hear a lot of claps, I didn't hear a lot of wooing, or a lot of yelling, or anything like that. It was very silent, as if a lot of fans were just like, oh, okay, you know, not a big deal, whatever. That's how it came off as. Meanwhile, you had other people's experiences saying how when she said that, people were standing up and clapping and wooing. So it's really been a mixed bag on how fans actually felt about Rey calling herself a Skywalker. Now, further and additionally, alright, this massive change to the character of Rey is set to make her into a legitimate Skywalker at the end of Episode 9. The process of this is set to use the power of the worlds between worlds. Lucas, of course, is set to introduce something substantial to the canon, that when Ben Solo fell into the bottomless pit, he was transported into the worlds between worlds and was given a special power by the Wills, who are godlike beings. This power by the Wills allowed Ben Solo to learn the power of life force exchange, and where his spirit would become one with Rey by making her into a legitimate Skywalker, in order to continue the bloodline that must exist. Now, I want to go over the wills, because this is going to be a very interesting addition to Star Wars. Now, we do know that on the world of Exegol, and this is in canon, underneath the surface, there is something to do with the world between worlds. This is actually legitimate canon, that there is some form of a connection to the worlds between worlds, and that's exactly why you see a bit of a shine underneath that crack in the gap of the surface of Exegol that Ben Solo falls into. It's a very interesting take that George Lucas is indeed approaching, and it's one of the main reasons as to why he wants to incorporate the wills. Now, the wills are these godlike creatures that watch over all the events that take place from episodes 1 to 9 and beyond and before. And I can only say that I think that George is on a roll here when it comes to Star Wars by incorporating the wills. Let's not forget that George is the person that allowed Dave Filoni to really establish some of the crazy ideas in the Clone Wars, with the father, the son, and the daughter. Or let's not forget about Star Wars Rebels with the worlds between worlds, and how George Lucas actually talked to Dave Filoni about all of this and how he allowed him to do it. So a lot of great things are coming out of Star Wars, I gotta say. I mean, Disney Plus, I think, is also going to be a great way to incorporate a lot more of these realms. But the fact that George is changing the concept of Rey Skywalker and ending the old concept of Rey Skywalker is a big deal. Now, further, alright, this is George's way to incorporate the wills to be attached to the Skywalker bloodline at the end of the day. It's explained further that George Lucas is going to develop this as soon as December of this year, and that the pre-plans are already in the works to establish it into the existing canon of Star Wars. This is also George's way to continue the Skywalker bloodline. Additionally, George Lucas is said to be in the process of working with this closely with Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni. Filoni will be handling the story of how Ben Solo lived in the worlds between worlds for quite some time after he fell into the pit, and that there will be a time difference between the two realms to make Ben Solo's training with the wills make more sense to the fans. Not just that, but Lucas plans to make it that the Force ghosts of the past also taught Ben Solo other aspects of this ability during his time in this realm that will be established into the new canon. So, once again, Lucas is really going to make it clear that the Force ghosts and the wills helped Ben Solo during his time in the worlds between worlds to learn this life force exchange technique. I love this. I don't know about you, but I love this. I think that this is really diving more into the mythology of the Jedi, the Force, and these unknown powers that we have yet to see, in the Star Wars canon. I think that what they're really trying to do, they're trying to evolve Star Wars, they're trying to give more meaning to the sequel trilogy to make it, I guess, have a little bit more substance to the whole Rey Skywalker thing, and I can understand that. I already like this idea. Some of you guys out there may very well disagree. But what I'm about to say is very important, is that George Lucas, at the end of the day, he really loves the Force lore, he loves the Jedi lore. This is something that was completely ignored by Rian Johnson, and something that J.J. Abrams actually tried to do that was refused by Kathleen Kennedy, that she actually did not allow to be inserted into the actual movie. So, additionally speaking, of course, alright, Lucas is aware that this may be a controversial decision on the part from the fans, that some fans may not like this concept. However, Lucas wants to develop a better outcome for Rey Skywalker and Ben Solo than what Disney had inserted into the ending of the sequel trilogy for the fans around the world to enjoy. This is described to be George's way in order to also attract the lost fans of the sequel trilogy, in order to get them back into the franchise to enjoy the Skywalkers once again. So guys, like I say, I mean, this really is something substantial. This really is a very big move by George Lucas that he's also working with Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni on. We can see that he's really trying to do something incredible for the Star Wars fans, and I really do respect that. I really do. Because it just tells us that he actually realizes that fixing needed to be done, and fixing is going to be made. So like I've said before in the past, guys, drop a comment below. Let me know about all of this in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.